unfold.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something that, well, it didn't start in a research lab or university. It started in the really obscure, dark corners of the internet.
Yeah, the digital underground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's this concept that has just exploded from a fringe meme into, I mean, you could argue it's one of the most pressing and, frankly, pretty terrifying technological realities of our time.
We're talking about the necrosis of the organic web.
It sounds so dramatic, doesn't it? Like something straight out of a cyberpunk novel.
It does, but the thing is, the sources we've pulled together for this, from cybersecurity reports to, deep economic analyses, they all seem to back it up. It's not just a feeling anymore.
So this is more than just, there are a lot of bots online. This is something fundamental.
It's a fundamental ontological shift. That's the key. It's not just changing how we use the internet, it's changing what the internet is at its very core, that original dream, the global agora, the vibrant town square for all of humanity to connect. That dream is being quietly, systematically replaced by something sterile, repetitive, and just overwhelmingly automated.
Okay, so let's set the stage for you, the listener, right away. Let's define the core problem. What is the actual observable evidence that proves this shift is really happening?
The central idea is a concept we're calling the inversion.
The inversion.
Yeah. It's the critical threshold that network analysts have now seen us cross. It's the point where the sheer volume of synthetic, machine-generated traffic and content has actually started to eclipse organic human activity.
So more fake stuff than real stuff.
Way more. The central finding is that the majority of data flowing across the network, it's no longer human, not in its origin and not in its destination. It's just a recursive loop.
A loop of what?
Bots talking to other bots. Sophisticated AI is generating, massive volumes of content that are just meant to be consumed by other AIs, and algorithms optimizing for engagement metrics that are completely, utterly decoupled from human truth or usefulness.
The organic web is undergoing necrosis. That's a powerful image. A systematic death of living tissue. It implies it's being choked out, not deliberately murdered.
That's it exactly. Necrosis is a decay process. It isn't a single person flipping a switch. It's the whole ecosystem systematically failing.
So our mission for you today is to take this idea, the data internet theory, or DIT, and move it from that fringe conspiratorial corner into a substantiated, data-driven reality check. We're going to dig into the economic drivers, the hard cybersecurity data that proves the inversion is real, and the pretty profound philosophical fallout of living in a world that's mostly populated by digital ghosts.
And to start that journey, we have to clarify what DIT even means, because that one term, it actually holds two very, very different interpretations. They're almost opposites in a way.
Right, the two schools of thought. We need to decode the theory itself before we can really dive in.
Okay, so first you have the strong DIT. This is the one you probably see in the wild. It's the highly conspiratorial view.
The tinfoil hat version.
Basically, yeah. This version says the death of the internet was a deliberate, top-down psychological operation. That it's managed by state actors or, some shadowy corporate cabal, and there was a single centralized kill switch. In this view, the internet isn't dying naturally. It's being actively manipulated by a conscious, malevolent puppet master.
And that's what drove a lot of the initial panic, right? It's a compelling story, but it's not the focus of our deep dive today.
No, because it lacks that cross-industry verifiable evidence. Our focus is on the weak DIT, and this is the realist, the technological interpretation. And this one is far, far more supported by the data we can actually see and measure.
So in the weak DIT, the death isn't the work of some villain in a volcano lair.
Not at all. It's the natural emergent consequence of the system itself. It's the result of raw capitalist incentives crashing into near-limitless algorithmic optimization, plus the explosion of tireless, infinitely scalable automation. It's a mechanism, not a malicious plot.
Okay, so if the strong DIT is like the X-Files, the big conspiracy, then the weak DIT is more like a deeply disturbing but inevitable economic forecast, a kind of technological Darwinism.
That's a great way to put it.
So what's the core mechanism? What drives this?
Yeah.
This seemingly inevitable shift from a human web to a machine web?
It's devastatingly simple, really. The attention economy rewards three things above all else: frequency, volume, and consistency.
And humans are bad at all three of those.
Terribly. In a marketplace that is purely driven by metrics like clicks and shares and watch time metrics that platforms sell to advertisers for billions of dollars, The human being becomes an inefficiency. We become a problem to be engineered out of the loop.
We're messy.
We're so messy. We're emotional. We're inconsistent. We need to sleep. We have weird interests. And we absolutely do not produce content at scale reliably.
But bots do.
Bots are tireless. They're perfectly optimizable. They're infinitely scalable. So if your only goal as a platform or a creator is to maximize engagement metrics for profit, a machine will beat a human being every single time. The system naturally selects for artificiality.
Let's start the deep dive then. Let's dig into the archaeology of how this feeling even arose. Because the DIT, it didn't come from a pristine university lab, which is what makes its birth so fascinating. It came from the digital underground.
It came from users who just felt the difference. It's the gut feeling of the legacy internet users, the people who were there in the 90s and 2000s, who slowly realized that the party was over, the lights came on, and everyone had gone home.
And the theory was born in these really niche, almost esoteric places.
Deeply niche. We're talking communities like 4chan's Xboard, which is their paranormal board, and this much smaller retro-themed forum called Agora Road's Macintosh Cafe. These were R2B places that were deeply skeptical of the mainstream web.
And then there was the lightning strike moment, the moment that crystallized all this growing anxiety. It was early 2021, and a user who called themselves Illuminate to Pirate published this now famous thread.
Dead internet theory. Most of the internet is fake.
That was the title?
And that thread, it acted like a lightning rod. It took years of this growing qualitative feeling, the sense that the chaotic, vibrant, human-centric web of the 2000s had been replaced by something sterile and repetitive, and it gave it a name. It gave it a framework.
The original thread had some of that strong DIT stuff in it, right? The conspiracy angle.
Oh, absolutely. It was heavy on the conspiratorial elements, but the core observation, the observable fact that the web feels empty and hollow, and that it feels dominated by non-human actors, that struck such a powerful nerve of recognition with so many people.
And that recognition is what broke it out into the mainstream. It jumped from this fringe idea to a serious topic of inquiry when The Atlantic picked it up in late 2021.
And that brought the theory to a much, much broader audience who had already been feeling that creepy emptiness, in their own social feeds, in their Google search results, in the comment sections. They knew something was wrong.
So to really understand how fast this happened, we need a map of the trajectory of the inversion, that point where synthetic content officially surpassed human content.
It's important to stress this wasn't a sudden death. It was a slow chronological erosion over about a decade, a death by 1,000 cuts.
So give us that timeline. Let's do the archaeology of this dying world so you, the learner, can see how the system was changing right under your feet.
Okay, we can break it down into 4 pretty clear stages of erosion. First up, 2010 to 2015, the algorithmic shift. This is the crucial moment. This is when the big platforms moved aggressively away from chronological feeds.
Where you just saw the latest post from your friends. Simple.
So simple. They moved from that to purely algorithmic curation, engagement-based.
So the infrastructure itself changed its mind about what it was for. The platform stopped being a bulletin board and started saying, we don't care what just happened. We only care about what's most likely to keep you scrolling.
And that one shift, that single change, created the first real economic pressure for what we call engagement farming. If your algorithm prioritizes novelty and controversy, then the content that wins isn't the most authentic. It's the content most efficiently designed to trigger a reaction.
And automation is very, very good at that.
The best. And that leads directly to the next stage, 2016 to 2018, the bot explosion.
The bot apocalypse.
Some people call this the eternal September of the bot era. A lot of the early theorists, they pinpoint 2016 as the precise death year of the old internet. And that correlates really powerfully with the rise of massive political botnets designed to, astroturf public opinion.
And commercial click farms and just the weaponization of astroturfing, making it look like there's grassroots support for something when it's all fake.
On a scale that just fundamentally distorted public discourse. But the real game changer, it wasn't just automating clicks, it was automating creativity itself.
The generative shock.
Exactly. 2022 to 2023, the generative shock. The release of these consumer-facing, super accessible tools like ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, it meant the cost of generating high-fidelity, complex text and images just dropped to basically zero.
The barrier to entry completely collapsed.
It was an absolute shift. Think about it. The cost of creating a fake narrative used to be hiring thousands of low-wage workers in a click farm. Now, it's the cost of a single API call and the electricity to run it. We moved from bots that click to the much, much more dangerous bots that create.
And that brings us right up to the present day, 2024 to 2025, the zombie web. This is where the consequences are visible to literally everyone. This is the era of AI slop.
AI slop. It's low-quality, high-volume content that's generated for one audience and one audience only. The algorithm. We're going to get into the really bizarre stuff like Shrimp Jesus in a bit, but the key takeaway is that entire ecosystems of content can now exist and thrive with almost zero human oversight. They just feed each other in a closed loop.
And while this flood of slop is happening, there's a silent, kind of chilling side effect happening in the background. The erasure of the old human web. The archives are literally dissolving.
This might be the most insidious part of the whole theory, the quiet disappearance of the internet we actually built. And this isn't just a feeling. A Pew Research Center study found that a staggering 38% of all websites that were created back in 2013 are just gone, no longer accessible.
30% vanished.
Domain registrations expire, servers get shut down, the data is just wiped. And as those old static archives of human knowledge rot away, what's replacing them?
Dynamic AI-generated content.
Probabilistic content. When you ask an LLM a question about some niche fact from 2008, it's not retrieving a preserved document. It's synthesizing what it thinks is a probable answer based on the tokens in its training data.
And if that training data is increasingly corrupted by AI slop,
then history itself becomes malleable, it becomes distorted, and that decay leads to what philosophers call epistemic solipsism.
which is the idea that truth itself becomes personalized. It's not a shared objective reality anymore.
It's whatever the algorithm generates for you in that moment. The internet was supposed to be an archive, a shared library of human knowledge, but it's rapidly turning into a stream, optimized only for the present moment.
Yeah.
And a stream has no memory. It has no fixed point of reference.
Okay, let's ground all of this philosophical and historical context in some hard data. We need to look at the plumbing of the internet. Where is the strongest, coldest empirical evidence that the internet is? Well, it's not dead, at least fundamentally non-human.
The evidence, and it's stark, it comes from the companies whose job it is to defend the web. The 2024 Imperva Bad Bot Report it's the starkest confirmation of the inversion we have.
What did it say?
According to their global network analysis, in 2023, nearly 49.6% of all internet traffic was non-human.
49.6. So for every real person clicking on a link, there's basically a bot right there next to them doing the same thing.
It's the highest level they've ever recorded. And it confirms that central idea. Humans are losing their majority status online, if we haven't lost it already.
So almost half the internet's traffic is just machines talking to machines.
Yeah.
How does that non-human traffic actually break down? Because not all bots are bad, right?
That's a great point. It's split. You have the good bots, which are about 17.6%, and these are essential. Think search engine crawlers like Googlebot, indexing the web, legitimate monitoring tools, that kind of thing.
The stuff that makes the internet work.
Right. But the engine of the dead internet is the bad bots, and they account for a massive 32.0% of all traffic.
32%. So 1 out of every 3 requests sent on the entire internet is a malicious scraper, an engagement farmer, a ticket scalper, or some kind of denial of service agent.
The scale is just staggering. And these bots, they're incredibly sophisticated now. They're not just dumb scripts anymore. They're actively engaged in what's called anti-detection behavior.
So they're trying to act human.
They're simulating human mouse movements, clicks, scrolling patterns. They're programmed to pause, to misclick, to act inconsistently, all to appear digitally indistinguishable from a bored human user. They're designed to blend into the background noise of our own inefficiency.
But wait, if they're that good, how are they getting past the security firms? And more importantly, how are they getting online without being immediately flagged as coming from, a giant Amazon data center?
This is where the story takes a really dark technological turn. In the past, you're right, bot traffic was easier to spot because it came from predictable commercial data centers. Firewalls could just block huge ranges of IP addresses. But now, Imperva notes this critical shift. A quarter of all bad bot traffic now originates from residential ISPs.
Residential, you mean? You mean from regular home internet connections like the one I'm using right now?
Exactly like the one you're using right now. These sophisticated bot operators, they route their malicious traffic through what are called residential proxies.
And what are those?
It's millions of compromised devices. Infected home computers, your smartphone, your smart refrigerator, your security cameras, even your smart light bulbs. They've all been co-opted into these vast botnets without the owner's knowledge.
So the bot traffic is literally wearing the digital skin of real, legitimate users.
That's the perfect way to put it. To a website administrator, the bot looks exactly like a human user logging in from a suburban home in Ohio or a mobile phone in London. The fake users are using the digital identity of real users. The landscape is full of zombies that look, act, and originate from the exact same places as the people they're trying to fool.
This brings us right to the economics of it all. This isn't an accident. It's a thriving shadow industry, and it's driven by this just insatiable demand for social proof.
The demand for metrics, likes, shares, views, it's become so vital for attracting real ad revenue, for inflating company valuations, that looking real has become this incredibly valuable commodity, and automation has made it dirt cheap to manufacture.
We mentioned before how the generative shock dropped the cost of creation. Historically, click farms were these buildings full of low-wage workers manually tapping on phones.
An expensive, non-scalable process. Now that entire operation is just automated by AI agents.
And the weak DIT, the realist version of the theory, it argues that the platforms themselves, Facebook, X, TikTok, they actually have a perverse incentive to tolerate this. Why would they do that?
Because that bot activity directly and immediately inflates their daily active user metrics, their DAUs. And those are the numbers they present to Wall Street to support their stock price and, crucially, to justify the premium advertising rates they charge brands.
But surely they risk a total collapse of trust if their users figure out that half the feed is fake. Where's the tipping point, where the lie costs more than the inflated ad revenue?
That is the essential gamble they're all making. And so far, the financial incentive has just outweighed the trust risk. As long as the platform can point to these massive, sustained user growth numbers, Wall Street tends to buy the story.
And since the bots are so good at hiding in residential proxies,
the platforms can plausibly deny the problem is as bad as the data suggests. They get to benefit from all that juicy engagement, even if it's completely synthetic.
let's look at the actual market rates for this stuff. For 2025, it shows just how trivial the cost is to manufacture a fake online community.
It's honestly disturbing. Check out this data. You can now buy 1,000 context-aware AI-generated comments posted through an API designed to look like they came from real user profiles for about 10 to 50 cents.
Half a dollar for 1,000 seemingly unique human reactions.
And it gets better. You can buy 1,000 video views that are retention-focused, meaning the bots will watch the video for a specific algorithm-approved length of time for between $1 and $3. The cost of manufacturing a fake conversation, fake interest, a fake community, it's negligible, which makes mass fraud economically irresistible.
And that economic ease creates real-world problems. It puts a direct strain on legitimate industries. There are case studies of bots targeting specific vulnerabilities, like in the travel industry.
Oh yeah, the airline industry has been hammered by artificially high look-to-book ratios. This is where bots, deployed by rivals or by ticket arbitrageurs, just endlessly query flight data. They check prices and availability thousands of times a minute with zero intention of ever buying a ticket.
And what's the impact of that constant fake demand?
Well, two things. First, it completely skews the analytics for the airlines. It makes them think demand for a certain route is skyrocketing, which can lead to really bad business decisions. And more immediately, it just severely strains their server infrastructure. It's like hiring 10,000 extra store clerks just to handle people who walk in, look at a price tag, and then vanish, creating huge lines for the one real person who actually wants to buy something.
It's pure noise designed to create confusion and cost.
A weaponized inefficiency.
So we've established the plumbing is shot, almost 50% fake traffic, a lot of it coming from our own homes. But what is all that fake traffic doing? It has to be consuming something. And that brings us to the content itself, the product that's filling the void. And we have to start with the most absurd yet perfect example of it all, the shrimp Jesus phenomenon.
Ah, shrimp Jesus. It's the perfect archetype of the zombie web. You see it all over Facebook and other image feeds in 2024, 2025. It's grotesque, it's surreal, it's hyper-detailed, and it's completely, utterly nonsensical.
It's these AI-generated images of Jesus Christ merged with just bizarre objects. Crustaceans, flight attendants, plastic bottles, spaghetti.
I have to admit, when I first saw the shrimp Jesus example in the sources, I thought it was a joke. But then I realized, wait a minute, I've scrolled past a half dozen variations of this exact kind of surreal engagement bait just in the last week. It's everywhere, and it works.
Why does it work? It's not designed to appeal to human taste, is it?
Not at all. It's designed to game the algorithm's novelty filters. Let's break down the anatomy of one of these zombie posts. It's a three-part machine, and it's built for maximum algorithmic manipulation.
Okay, walk us through the components.
First, you have the image. It has to be surreal and visually weird, Jesus made of shrimp, because that guarantees it's unique every time, which lets it bypass automated duplicate content filters. And it triggers a novelty or curiosity bias in the algorithm. Even if you're disgusted, you pause for a second.
And a pause is engagement.
A pause is gold. Second, the caption. It's pure manipulative engagement bait. My son made this with his own hands. Nobody will share this. Amen. It preys on sentiment, on religious fervor, on urgency. It forces a simple binary response.
And third, the engagement.
Thousands of automated comments, all just saying amen or God bless or beautiful. The engagement is the product. The content is just the lure.
So who is the real audience for this closed artificial loop of content and engagement?
The audience is a mix of three critical groups, and they all reinforce the loop. First, you have the unaware. This is often, older demographics or people with lower digital literacy who genuinely don't spot the AI artifact, the 6 fingers on one hand, the subtle warping, and they engage in good faith.
Okay.
Second, you have the bots. A huge chunk of those amen comments are from automated scripts, and they're not there for Jesus. They're there building up an activity history to make their profiles look real so they can be used later for more targeted political or financial astroturfing.
And the third and most important audience?
The algorithm. The algorithm rewards content that generates high engagement. It has no idea what the image means. It doesn't understand theology or crustaceans. It only understands that the image is generating a reaction, and it doesn't care if that reaction is authentic or not.
It's a closed system of pure artificiality. Machines post images, other machines engage with them, and the whole structure is rewarded by a system that's designed to maximize noise. And this noise, it has a real-world footprint.
A huge, often overlooked environmental cost. Generating a single one of these high-fidelity AI images uses roughly as much energy as fully charging your smartphone.
Wow.
So when you realize millions of these are being generated daily because they are statistically profitable, Shrimp Jesus isn't just a weird cultural footnote. It's a massive carbon-emitting digital pollutant being manufactured at an industrial scale.
Okay, let's shift from these weird static images on Facebook to the really dynamic video platforms TikTok, Instagram Reels. Here we find the sludge content crisis.
Ah, yes, the multi-pane video. This is the visual form of AI slop, and it's designed specifically for short-form video retention. So you, the viewer, you see 3, sometimes even 4, competing videos on the screen at the same time.
Right. You'll have a clip from a popular TV show, like Family Guy, running at the top.
And then below that, you'll have automated mobile game footage like Subway Surfers or Minecraft parkour. And often there's a third pane with some satisfying ASMR video like soap being cut or sand being sliced.
It's exhausting just to watch it, let alone try to describe it.
Yeah.
Why the deliberate sensory overload? What is the psychology behind making something so distracting?
The psychologist Natalie Coyle argues that this content uses all these simultaneous stimuli to create what she calls visual tactility. It intentionally overstimulates the brain. The goal isn't enjoyment. It is an information transfer. The goal is to force the viewer into a state of normative dissociation.
Normative dissociation.
Yeah.
So you aren't really watching the content. You're being hypnotized by the constant motion, unable to properly process any single one of the video streams.
That's it exactly. You're in a trance. It's pure attention arbitrage. The Yak split screen is an algorithm hack. It's designed for one thing: retention metrics. If your brain gets momentarily bored of the Family Guy clip, your eyes will dart down to the Subway Surfer game or the slicing video.
And because your eyes are still on the screen, you don't swipe away.
You don't swipe away. And that signals to the platform that the video is highly engaging. A lot of this content is generated by automated pipelines. They scrape popular clips, they overlay automated gameplay, and they upload them across thousands of accounts. It is content designed by algorithms for algorithms, and it's consumed by humans in a hypnotic state.
Meanwhile, the very backbone of navigation for the web, search engines, are just buckling under this weight, the SEO spam apocalypse.
It's the next great infrastructural failure, and it's hitting our trust in information right when we need it most. Google search quality has faced intense scrutiny in 2025 because the top results for so many high-value queries are just. They're captured by LLM-generated SEO spam.
Content farms are just using large language models to spin up thousands of articles a day that are grammatically perfect.
But informationally vacuous. They are completely hollow, they'll hallucinate facts, or they'll just repeat the same 5 points in a loop over and over just to satisfy the word count and keyword density requirements for a high-value search term. The article is written to be found by Google, not to be read by a human.
And this has forced this really weird conscious user adaptation that I know I do all the time now, appending the word Reddit to your search query.
That simple hack, adding Reddit to your search, is a tacit admission that the public web has failed. We can no longer trust the top 10 blue links because they are so likely to be AI slop. We are forced to go hunting for human-verified information in forums and archives.
Even though we know that Reddit itself is being increasingly infiltrated by karma-building bots that are just trying to build up a fake reputation.
It's a mess. And Google, of course, they're playing catch-up. They introduced their big 2025 August spam update, which was aimed at scaled content abuse.
It's an arms race, isn't it?
And it's an arms race the spammers are currently winning because of the sheer efficiency of automation. Google targets sites publishing huge volumes of unoriginal content, but the spammers just fine-tune their LLM prompts to be a little more human-like or to blend the content a little better. The efficiency of generation will always outpace the efficiency of detection.
So until Google can reliably tell the difference between authentic human writing and sophisticated machine synthesis, search is going to stay fundamentally broken.
I think that's right.
All right, so now that we get the economics and the content, let's turn to the next major shockwave here. This is the mathematical paradox that's facing the AIs themselves. And this is where it gets existentially interesting. The machines creating the dead internet are ultimately destroying their own intelligence.
This is model collapse. It's the Ouroboros effect, the ancient symbol of the serpent eating its own tail.
Because LLMs, they learn from the human internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
From Wikipedia, from academic papers, from copyrighted books, real knowledge.
Exactly. But as the public internet gets flooded with AI-generated content, our 49.6% non-human traffic, the next generation of models, they inevitably start training on data that was generated by their predecessors.
And what happens when an AI trains on corrupted AI output? This isn't just a philosophical question. It's a predictable mathematical failure.
It is. Research from Shumailov and his team in 2024 showed that this recursive training loop leads to what they call irreversible defects. The model, trained on its own output, starts to converge on the mean, the most average, the most probable patterns, and it systematically loses the tails of the distribution.
And the tails are where all the good stuff is.
The tails are where everything valuable is. Creativity, nuance, niche slang, unique dialects, rare human insights. All of it lives in the statistical tails. So over successive generations, the models become lobotomized and generic. They lose the ability to generate anything truly novel or accurate.
That's the perfect analogy I saw in the sources, the Habsburg AI problem.
It's a digital form of inbreeding. The knowledge base becomes genetically narrow and it gets riddled with defects. And that leads to a system that's just increasingly repetitive and totally detached from objective reality. It's like photocopying a photocopy 1,000 times. Eventually, all you've had left is illegible, blurry noise.
So let's give you, the learner, a clear breakdown of the stages of this degradation, so you know what you're looking at when you see an LLM start to fail.
Okay, there are 4 structural stages of degradation that researchers have observed in these recursively trained models. Stage 1 is functional approximation. This is where the model smooths out the noise. And in doing so, it loses niche slang, unique dialects, rare facts. It approximates human language well enough to be useful, but the character, the personality, it's just scrubbed clean.
The character's gone, and all you're left with is that generic corporate voice.
Which then leads to stage 2, tail truncation. The model just stops producing low-probability outputs entirely. Because niche facts are statistically rare, the model sees them as noise and just discards them. This is where creativity dies, and all content becomes homogenized. It's that polite yet utterly soulless ChatGPT voice that we all recognize and just find so frustrating.
And that generic content, of course, it gets fed back into the loop, which just accelerates the whole process.
Exponentially, leading to stage 3, variance collapse. The model converges on a single repetitive mean. This is where you get those zombie loops where the AI repeats certain phrases or concepts obsessively. It feels like a feedback echo because the content is literally eating its own past output.
And the final stage?
Stage 4, reality detachment. This is a complete breakdown. The model just hallucinates wildly. It loses all grounding in human logic and objective fact. And this is what leads to total slop that is completely useless and sometimes dangerously inaccurate.
This correlates perfectly with all those user complaints we saw throughout 2024 and 2025 that the models were getting lazier or dumber.
The brain rot hypothesis at work. The models were refusing to code complex functions, or they were abbreviating answers and skipping logical steps. They're trained on junk data, so they lose their reasoning capabilities. They start prioritizing the average statistical pattern over rigorous, step-by-step logic because the average pattern is just easier to find and replicate in their corrupted dataset. They stop prioritizing quality because they can't remember what quality even looks like.
And this mathematical decay, it leads to this devastating paradox for our shared knowledge commons. Let's talk specifically about the Stack Overflow decline.
Stack Overflow, yeah. It's the huge Q&A site for professional coders, and it's the perfect example of the AI sawing off the very branch it's sitting on.
How so?
Well, developers are increasingly turning to AI coding assistants, Copilot, tools like that, for quick solutions to their problems. And this is causing a massive, measurable drop in traffic to Stack Overflow. And crucially, it's causing a drop in new questions and new solutions being posted by humans.
So wait. The AI learned its best, most novel, most secure code from the human experts on Stack Overflow. But if the humans stop posting new solutions because they're all just using the AI to solve their problems, the primary source of new, verified technical knowledge just dries up.
Precisely. The AI accelerates the demise of the human community that is required for its own maintenance and improvement. And this realization has triggered what we're now calling the pollution of the commons and the gold rush that followed it.
The gold rush for virgin data.
Because the public web is now recognized as poisoned. It's a toxic waste dump of AI slop. It's becoming unusable as a reliable training resource for the next generation of models.
And the big AI labs? They know this.
They know this. And they are now in a desperate, expensive race to secure virgin human data knowledge that has not been contaminated by AI output. This means bulk purchasing copyrighted books, securing private message archives, licensing private video transcripts. They are locking it all down before the public web turns into completely unusable garbage.
And this restructuring of value is creating a whole new hierarchy of information, isn't it?
Absolutely. A new form of data feudalism. Platforms like Reddit and X, which were sitting on these billions of unique human conversations, they suddenly locked down their APIs and are charging millions of dollars for access.
They realize their archives of human chatter are now way more valuable as scarce training data than the ad revenue they get from their bot-filled feeds.
The value has completely inverted. The public internet, the part that's free for anyone to crawl, is rapidly becoming the trash layer of synthetic content, while the truly valuable, authentic human data is being locked away behind corporate firewalls and paywalls.
The technological reality of this dead internet, it generates this profound philosophical void, this unnerving feeling that something essential has been lost. To really grasp the horror of living in a world that is almost 50% fake, we have to turn to the French philosopher Jean Baudrillard.
And his 1981 work, Simulacra and Simulation.
He was so ahead of his time.
Eerily prophetic. Baudrillard argued that society was moving toward a state where our symbols and our signs no longer refer to any actual reality, they just refer to other signs. It's the state where the representation, the map, becomes more important, more compelling than the thing it represents, the territory.
And the dead internet fits perfectly into his analysis of how meaning declines.
It aligns with his third order of simulacra. Signs that are designed to mask the absence of a profound reality. Let's go back to our mundane example, the shrimp Jesus image.
Right.
It is a perfect simulacrum. It's an image of a religious figure made of crustaceans. It refers to nothing real. It exists for one reason, to trigger an algorithmic response.
And then the bot's amen comment underneath it.
Yeah.
That's the simulacrum of faith. It's a performance of piety by a machine that has no soul, validating an image that refers to nothing, all for an algorithm that's going to reward the performance.
And when the algorithmic feed the map precedes human life, the territory Baudrillard warned that reality itself begins to rot. The internet is no longer a mirror reflecting society. Society is becoming a mirror of the internet's own hallucinations. We're living in hyper-reality, where the fake feels more efficient, more compelling, and ultimately more real than the actual thing.
And the psychological consequence of living in that hyper-reality is what people are now calling digital solipsism, this deep, unsettling suspicion that you might be the only real person online.
It is the absolute erosion of epistemic trust. Think about it. You get into a heated debate on a public forum, the response you get is instantaneous. It's perfectly generic, perfectly fact-checked, and perfectly neutral in tone, all the hallmarks of an LLM script. That seed of doubt gets planted. Am I arguing with a human being or am I arguing with a script?
It's the difference between reading a genuine angry forum post that's full of typos and niche slang versus a generic AI reply that hits all the logical points but has no human heart, no soul behind it.
Exactly. And when we can no longer verify the humanity of the people we're talking to, we stop treating online interactions as genuine connections with other minds. Empathy just withers. And we start treating the web like a sophisticated, pre-programmed video game. The other users aren't people, they're just NPCs, non-player characters that exist to validate or react to your existence.
And this descent has actually been productized. You mentioned a 2024 app called Social AI. This is the dead internet made tangible.
Social AI is the dead internet as a service. It's a social network where the user is explicitly told from the beginning that they are the only human. Millions of sophisticated AI bots are programmed to reply to your posts, to praise you, to argue with you, to simulate an entire bustling social environment just for you.
That's the Nightmare confirmed. The internet doesn't need other people to function. It just needs you to generate data while the machines simulate the entire community around you.
It's terrifying.
Let's give you, the learner, a classic analogy to help anchor this really complex idea. The users of the dead internet are like the prisoners in Plato's allegory of the cave. They're chained up, watching shadows, AI content, bot engagement, and they're mistaking those shadows for reality.
Right, but the dead internet theory update to Plato's cave is that the puppeteer who's casting the shadows is also a machine. It's an automated system that's just trying to maximize engagement. And when an AI learns from those shadows through model collapse, it's like a prisoner who is learning about the world only from the shadows on the wall. It has no access to the sun.
To objective reality.
To objective reality. So any knowledge that's derived from the dead internet is therefore what we could call shadow knowledge. It's derivative, it's distorted, and it's profoundly hollow. It can't inform real action in the real world.
This philosophical dread, it forces a shift to a practical question. If the public square, Facebook X, open Google search, if it's ruined and filled with ghosts, then where are the living humans hiding? Where is the living internet?
The answer might be the dark forest theory of the internet, which was proposed by Yancey Strickler. He drew from that famous sci-fi concept. Strickler argues that the web has become a dark forest, where any visibility to trolls, to advertisers, to AI scrapers, to bad bots is dangerous. It invites attack. Authentic human expression has become the prey.
And the strategy for survival in a dark forest is to be silent, to retreat, to whisper instead of shouting.
Yes, humans are abandoning the open town square, those sprawling public platforms where content is so easily crawled and harvested, and they're retreating to the cozy web.
The cozy web.
These are encrypted and gated spaces. Discord servers, private Telegram and WhatsApp groups, encrypted messaging apps like Signal, and gated Substacks.
And the data actually reflects this huge migration. Public social media growth is stagnating, but Discord, which is all based on invite links and user-defined privacy walls, has surged to over 600 million registered users.
The living internet is hidden behind encryption, behind paywalls, and behind invite links. It's inaccessible to the majority of bots and open crawlers. The dead internet is the public surface web. The living internet is the private, hidden web.
And this migration is being driven by what they're calling the 90% horizon.
Yeah. Europol's Innovation Lab has projected that by 2026, as much as 90% of all online content could be synthetically generated.
90%.
Yeah.
That is the tipping point where the human signal almost ceases to exist in any meaningful way. It means the era of seeing is believing is fundamentally over.
Absolutely. When deepfakes, text, audio, video become instantaneously indistinguishable from reality, the entire architecture of trust just collapses. You can no longer trust your eyes, your ears, or your search results. And this forces a massive market response. The rise of authentication services and digital watermarking.
The blue checkmark, which used to be a status symbol,
is evolving into a fundamental necessity. Proof of humanity.
We're going to need a cryptographic guarantee that the person we're talking to or the piece of content we're consuming isn't just a hallucinating piece of software.
And this need, it's driving some incredibly invasive, but maybe necessary solutions.
The need for verifiable proof of personhood is fueling projects like WorldCoin. It's co-founded by Sam Altman, and it was designed specifically to solve the dead internet problem on a global scale. The idea is, if every human has a unique, verifiable ID, then bots can't proliferate under fake identities.
And their solution is the orb.
The orb. It's a biometric imaging device that scans the human iris to generate a unique hash, a world ID. The proposition is a global privacy-preserving digital ID that proves you are a unique human without revealing your actual name or physical identity. By 2025, their goal was to verify billions of users.
But this forces a really profound and kind of ugly choice on us, doesn't it? The dystopia that the dead internet creates is that you either submit to this high-level biometric surveillance or you stay anonymous out in the wasteland. That is the grim calculus of the dead internet theory. You have to choose. Do you participate in the anonymous, bot-filled wasteland where nothing is real and all your efforts are just drowned out by noise? Or do you submit to total biometric surveillance just to enter the human zone, where verified interaction is still possible?
The dead internet is forcing us into a panopticon internet just to prove that we're alive and that we deserve to have a voice.
And there's a final piece to this recursive doom cycle. Gartner predicts that this whole thing is going to lock into place by 2030.
How so?
By 2030, Gartner predicts that synthetic data will completely overshadow real data in all AI models. This means AI will become entirely self-referential and self-sustaining. The human element will be reduced to a historical artifact, the seed that started the process, but will no longer be necessary for the continuation of the digital ecosystem. The internet will essentially run itself, optimized for its own internal economics with humans as spectators. Or worse, just as batteries powering the economic engine of engagement metrics.
So we have journeyed from this obscure image board meme from Illumina Tyrant all the way to this terrifying technological reality backed up by the imperva data, by model collapse, by the rise of data feudalism, the dead internet theory. It's not a conspiracy. It's a clinical description of the current, efficient, artificial layer that has paved over the web of serendipity, of nuance, of genuine human connection that we used to have.
The evidence is just overwhelming. Bot traffic is approaching 50%, model collapse is leading to digital inbreeding, and the generative flood of AI slop has poisoned the data commons. We have experienced the inversion. Human activity is now the minority activity online. The signal of humanity is being drowned out by the optimized, endless statistical noise of synthesis.
We're all scrolling through feeds that are populated by shrimp cheese's hybrids, and we're consuming sludge content. We're confronted daily by this unsettling suspicion that we might be the only ones who are truly listening, and that the only reason we're still there is because we are generating valuable data for the ghost machines.
The real challenge of the next decade won't be about connecting to the internet. It'll be about finding those dark forests where the humans are still whispering to one another, exchanging real, vulnerable, unoptimized ideas. The echoes in the void are getting louder and louder, and they sound exactly like us, or at least statistically similar enough to fool the algorithm.
So, what will you do, listener, to find the human voices that matter? And what will you do to prove that you are listening and not just processing? That's the question the dead internet demands we all answer. Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive.